Welcome back, one and all. Juno in action, playable now, not in OWCS just yet, but you can already get your hands on
OWCS
it.
Korea.
Oh, actually?
Yeah.
Actually.
Well, not EMEA Main.
Well, I feel betrayed.
We started the stage
Sorry.
We had
Okay,
to, you know,
fine.
keeping the rule set consistent for the whole stage.
Next stage,
They
next
play
stage,
Swiss.
next stage. It's gonna pop off. It's gonna be great. Love Juno. She's cute.
The little,
Maybe not
you know,
as
the hot
viable
fix,
right now,
giving her a
but,
little more damage. It looks pretty good for her, actually. It looks not great, but she's
good.
gonna have a place. You
She's
know?
playtime.
There'll be some strats, you know. Probably
will
more
be
than
some
Mercy.
strats.
Probably more than Mercy.
Well, that's fair. That's what we can hope for. Well, speaking of mercies, SSG going at it again.
Oh my God!
Probably
please,
not with a
stop
mercy.
talking about mercy.
Listen, it's the
mercy
only
rule.
thing I got at
What
this
have I
point.
done?
Space Station, gaming. Yeah, you actually brought that upon yourself with that illustration, so that's on it.
So how do you think the Mercy play is going to factor in here for SSG?
They might bring it out. No, I guess.
Shh, don't even speak it into
Come on.
existence. Space Station Gaming, though, like, obviously they're the favorite heading into this match against Hypnos in the lower bracket, but still, that was a brutal loss they suffered there in the upper bracket.
It was a brutal loss, but I mean, they're facing Hypnos. Like, let's just keep it
just
real
calm down,
here.
yeah.
If they lost this upcoming match, this would be one of the biggest upsets of the year. So for this team, I think, yes, you might keep the VP match in the back of your head, but this should just be cleanup duty. These are still amazing players that are competing for number one in EMEA, right? And there's stiff competition with ENS versus Pro, but they should be able to comfortably beat a team like Hypnos. Again, it was a 5-map series against VP. They brought out a bunch of different looks, so I would not be concerned about SSG in the slightest here.
And Hypnos is the opponent they're facing in their elimination match. This is a team which looked their best, really, when they got to play the dive, so that's what they were aiming for. Yesterday in their match against Super Shy, though, we saw them divert a little bit. They tried their hand on Brawl. Jake, please refresh our memories. How did that go?
It did not go well. The Brawl was really not their strong suit. You know, Super Shy really had their number, and I think going up against SSG, I think you really want to avoid the Brawl matchup. Hypnos, they're at their best when we see MCD on this Ana, Skytor on the Winston, diving in, create space for Keo on the Ashe. I mean, they do look pretty good at that style, and I would think that's also kind of SSG's weakness at this moment, is that their dives aren't nearly as refined. So maybe there's a way for Hypnos to like bring us to a dive mirror. At the same time, I think you're right, Johnny. SSG just has such strong players. Even if this is like an opportunity for them to maybe wash that bad taste out of their mouth and prove to themselves that they are a strong dive team, that they can make this style work if they just clean up their own play and maybe play with a little bit more confidence against a squad that isn't as well known and doesn't have the level of heavy hitters. You know, Hypnos, in the end, this is like kind of an upstart team, a lot of new faces trying to make their way up in the scene, and SSG should be, in theory, too much of a test. At the same time, you know, maybe Hypnos can find their way to a map win, and maybe SSG, like mental boom. That's what we're hoping for here.
Obviously, that's what everyone is hoping for. Am I tripping?
Not everyone.
Right
What
now?
Hypnos is hoping for, to be clear.
But speaking of Hypnos, and like, have they not faced off against each other in the groups? They have, right?
They were both in
the
Group
same-
A, were they, right?
I think so. Someone please fact
We worked
check
the group
me.
stage.
I worked
I didn't.
every single day, but those are also like 11-hour days. So like at the end of it, like I really don't remember much from each and every day. Just models together. I feel like they faced off against each other in the group. They both played the dive, and Hypnos looked lost. Like, I think Skytor literally didn't know anymore when to peel, when to go in, when to do anything. And Hardy looked very competent, obviously, and comfortable on that Winston in that series. A repeat of that, perhaps, if that ever happened. I'm not entirely sure. Let's send it over to our casters. Maybe they know? Did it happen? Did it not happen?
Yeah, they looked really good, actually, like on their dive in general in their group until they played SSG. I actually think that game might have happened off stream. It might have happened on the first day.
So why would I have seen that?
I don't know, but there obviously was that first day of qualifiers that was mostly captured by our wonderful co-streaming.
I actually think you and Avril casted it.
Nah. There's no way.
I think
There's no way.
that's true.
Again, don't fact check that. But to feel, I do remember seeing it either if it was later on or earlier on in prep or in the actual game itself.
Yeah, but most people probably muted you, so it was technically off stream, I guess, right? So,
It's fine. It's just like the co-streaming
in that one. Well, in that one,
different.
they played Samoa, Dorado, and Eichenwald.
Oh,
in
it
that
must be nice to have a
series.
monitor right next to you, big guy. Okay.
No, I just remembered it. I just remembered it.
Bull dust. That is bull dust, mate.
What?
There's no way. I don't believe you.
Nah, it just, yeah, I'm just a like my brain is just a big data center for
for the different Doritos
Overwatch
flavors and
group play.
fantasy football teams you've had over the years. that's what you used all the space for, mate. It's like it's literally like if CERN was invented for the art of busting rocks with your head, or just crashing boulders
now
together.
the Giants look this year. I can clean up some disk space in my brain and just delete football.
And we all know that's not going to happen, folks. But here, again, it's an uphill battle for Hypnos, and that's putting it lightly.
Yep. Yeah, and look, I think the rush is obviously where they don't want to want to play more of kind of what you're seeing here now. Space Station will play the Reaper. Interesting. So we saw the Reaper being used a little bit earlier on this map. Space Station was using a lot of like May, but maybe obviously knowing what Hypnos is going to do, right? You could put so much pressure on SkyTour.
Already they're looking for a way on in. SkyTour does get there, but yeah, the Reaper's something that he's going to have to work around. A lot of bubble dancing, and those bubbles are going to be short-lived indeed. Jumping back here is SkyTour. Space Station obviously now starting to cap this point, and Hardy is here with a Bionade, so MCD doing well to line him up, but he's able to shrug that off easily enough. Still no full cap here for either team, though. A really drawn-out engagement. Those health bars are looking hairy for Hypnos, and eventually they lose their main tank.
You can see Hypnos like on the bridge, right? I mean, just taking so much damage, never being able to kind of get into position to, get even like close to the point, as Space Station will be in control of it first, where this Reaper definitely giving some troubles in terms of, SkyTour wants to be aggressive, right? Wants to go in, but can't exactly be around that Reaper for too long. Is SXJ going to play the Pharah here? So just try and put some more, long range damage down and, scare that Reaper a little bit, right? No real answer for the Pharah here for Space Station Gaming.
Now trying to play inside the dojo, Space Station. SkyTour trying to accost some of them here, but caught inside a Kitsune Rush. They are able to find land in it, and SkyTour's been able to translate into a Primal Rage here after MCD set him up with the Nano. Pulse! Captain Prash won't be able to avoid that one, and Hardy goes in on his own Primal mission. Fresh meat, boys, back on the menu.
I mean, you're going to lose MCD here, so the point's actually going to go towards Hypnos, but I think you're going to be able to kind of collapse on this. You see players coming off the spawn here for Space Station Gaming, and players back by the point. Is SkyTour going to take a load of rockets, load of damage there from the Reaper here. Is SXJ just trying to find some kind of purchase on the point here. Rally used here by Hypnos, trying to keep this one going in their favor, but it's going to be the sound barrier in response from Funny
The Death
Astra.
Blossom was avoided by SXJ, but eventually the Grim Reaper comes for us all. Back by no more of a smile on his face now, as he's got a lot of work done on this pick. Managing to pick off Kyo there, who's just switched to the Tracer now. No more of that Ash gameplay. And Hypnos now have a bit of a trough in ultimate, so it's going to be much harder to get SkyTour in and extra durable with a Nano or something similar.
Yeah, and I think this is a really good comp, just kind of cooked out from Space Station, that is going to give any type of Winston-based comp some trouble, right? I guess the benefit with like a Diva would be like defense matrix a lot of the Reaper damage, right? At least like kind of get into position, but the Winston, right? No real way to kind of circumvent that damage. I mean, look at that one. Backbone just kind of gets up on the bridge, right? SkyTour has to make a decision to just kind of get out the way.
Okay, Psycho getting picked off there. SXJ obviously can't really wade into the dojo. A little jump back up for Hardy after being conked off the edge. He's still safe. And MCD has built up that Nano here. SkyTour will have a Primal off the back of it, but it's going to go to SXJ instead. How does he get value out of this? Looking for a barrage, but who will it be? Backbone could just walk away, and he does. Wraith walks straight out of there. So that's a Nano that doesn't get the value. And Captain Prash gets crunched by Hardy as he lands with that Primal. This has gone horribly wrong for Hypnos in the last few moments. They at least had that flip, but the round is now well and truly over. Space Station here. It's aggressive, it's scrappy. Hypnos fight them at every turn, but they still overcome.
Yeah, and I like how Space Station not overly worried about the point there, right? They kind of push off. They know they can deal with the supports and then just double back to the point. They're never really in any threat of giving the point up or, for an extended period of time. So really nice plays there from Space Station, as I think this is going to force changes here out of Hypnos. I don't think you're going to play into this Reaper like that.
I thought the Thara might be the answer on a map like Control Center, though it does not play well. keeping that sort of flight ceiling a little bit lower than you otherwise would like. So the May instead will be the choice potentially in a rush style. One where we've seen Hypnos,
And with Ramatra,
we've seen
too.
Hypnos go for this one before, but as the desk kind of pointed out, they've always looked at their best when they're able to play those Winston comps with the Ana. MCD is going to be switching over to the Baptiste here to further facilitate for the Ramatra, and Space Station back to a composition that's pretty comfortable for them. I mean, the Malga look at Kyo gets blasted out of the gates.
I mean, the new damage that Lucio can put down, and you get right into position there for Funny Astro and Hardy, and you're able to get killed really early on. And
22, I think the increase was. So for critical hits, that's actually very significant.
How are you going to get in here healthy if you're Hypnos? Like, you're going to use a May wall here. You separate backbone, so at least you get a pick off at the start. But look at that slam there from Hardy.
Still, though, very deep he went, and he had to contest with the immortality field of MCD. So that kept him standing a little bit longer. Wait a minute, Kyo goes down. Still, the Ramatra's an issue, so Space Station will concede, but they'll be back in the fight a little quicker now.
Well,
that is extremely sus.
Here. Yeah, you're going to lose Skytor as well. I mean, yeah, you're in a lot of trouble. This is going to be Space Station taking the point.
I don't know what Astro was up to there. He just got punched into pulp by Skytor as he ran past him. Hey, no harm, no foul. Space Station have the point once more. Little limit testing never goes astray.
I mean, wouldn't you say there was a foul? He died. There was.
I mean, if it was up to me, it'd be a red card, mate. But I don't make these decisions, so.
Yeah, that's soccer.
that is football, that's right. Okay. Skytor trying to establish himself here on the point, but don't know if he knows about the pulse bomb that would be waiting. Not needed, though, to bring him down. All of Hypnos are so far away. They see Kitsune Rush. They realize this fight is lost.
You're worried about if you knew that the pulse bomb was coming. He definitely knew the rush came. He was kind of stuck inside of it there. Space Station got extremely aggressive, and now for Hypnos, oh, look at this Psycho lurking with a pulse bomb here, just gonna give the intel to the rest of the team. See if he can maybe come up with one. Man, look at the damage that Kyo takes right off the rip.
Psycho has to wait a little bit longer. Pulse bomb dropped in the doorway, no stick there. Hardy actually went down. The sound barrier gave Hypnos a moment there. Recall for Psycho though, as he otherwise went quite low, but he's still deep in enemy territory. But that's where Space Station want Hypnos right now. Backbone goes sailing over the edge. And it will have to be Funny Astro returning, giving up a point for a moment.
Can he get Hardy back in the fight? And no, they're not going to bother contesting, I think, as the May wall kind of comes up. Unless Hardy feels like the Mog is strong enough to kind of stand up to 3 players on the opposite side of things, which it might, as now you're going to have more players back in action, as you're going to be able to combo that cage fight with the Tectonic Shock here. So it's going to be the Kitsune Rush. You're going to back out of this for Space Station.
Disengage from it, force Hypnos to play off of it. Still, though, they're able to use that momentum to run Astro into the ground. It was a cage fight here for Hardy. Into an annihilation from Skytor. Not exactly the person you want to be caged in with. Still, though, the Cardiac Overdrive helped to a degree, allowed at least Landon to pick up Kyo. And at least it's going to be a drawn-out fight loss for Space Station at this rate. Hardy falling, it's almost certain.
Yeah, and I mean, there's your Tectonic Shock, right? And cage fight out. So Hypnos battles through what could have been a pretty devastating combo there. Really behind their Kitsune Rush Annihilation Blizzard. So now this will be the big challenge for Hypnos. You will have a sound barrier to kind of deal with this Kitsune Rush. Winning this would be huge.
Skytor here wants to play the corner behind his shield. Hardy low, too low. Landon goes in, Kitsune Rush. Can he keep the Malga standing? Of course can. Of course, the Cardiac Overdrive also pretty helpful for Hardy, especially once he gets into the thick of things. Skytor needs to go, and he goes first for Hypnos. They've lost Landon at Space Station. Funny Astro wants that sound barrier sooner rather than later, but there's the flip. Kyo, they're under extreme pressure now, and I think MCD is headed the same way. Despite losing the first kill of that fight, Space Station now sitting pretty, and SXJ has no way to stall this out any further. That's a nice block that will only delay the inevitable. Great Pulse on Skytor, tries to return on the Doom, but Pulse is very good against him. And that'll be a sound barrier just to make sure, an insurance policy, as SSG take our first map.
Yeah, and I think, look, obviously they play against Hypnos in the past. They know exactly kind of the type of compositions they excel at, and they put together 2 different compositions there, SSG, that really just take advantage of what Hypnos wants to play. So I think Hypnos is going to have to show us a little bit of something different, right? Maybe a different look completely to kind of throw SSG off.
Yeah, I think the Malga comp into the Ramatra is something we've seen plenty of times from SSG, and they brought the Winston in on Garden just to put that much more pressure down on the dive comp for Hypnos, which is arguably one of their best looks here. And if you're Hypnos, you're like, well, do we try and force a dive map of some variety? I don't really know if there's any distinct edge for them to find here, but let's look back over the map. Matthew, Lijiang Tower, a 2-0 in rounds.
Yeah, and it was the Reaper here from SSG that really made a difference early on. I think really giving SkyTour a lot of trouble, like even just getting close to the point. Even though there is some percentage here for Hypnos, it was really it was kind of just like giving up percentage, right? Like SSG didn't like lose a fight per se over the point. They kind of gave it up to go take out a player here or there, right, and then double back for the point.
Yeah, there's that first round, of course, where we did see that like the Nano Primal sort of pipeline for SkyTour and MCD get them some value, allowed them to sort of get on the point early. But you kind of mentioned here SSG towards the end of the round, they allow the point to flip. They say we can definitely take the fight off of it and find success. And here in their second round, this is the end of the round. SkyTour obviously mostly playing Ramatra on control center and manufacturing some picks with the May. Obviously Ramatra very powerful, still in Nemesis form. Couple of eliminations there from SkyTour that gave them a chance to get their head above water. But yeah, I mean, this is pretty straightforward stuff here. SSG, only the 17 deaths over the course of the map. Very solid, well-rounded like we expect.
Round 2 is much closer, right? I think I know how we talked about map 1, like they were just kind of like getting some percentage by SSG, just giving it up. Hypnos definitely battled in round 2. They were able to actually win some fights and engagements. So I think that probably bodes well for them moving forward. Is it well enough to win a few maps, win the series? Probably not. But I know SSG like that they're the ones that kind of are expected to kind of get through this team, right? So Hypnos, you're looking at hey, playing with house money, right? Nobody kind of expects you to win this series. You can come up with something great. If not, like, you still feel pretty good about your performance.
Absolutely. Maybe a kind of map that allows SXJ to show his mastery of like the Echo pick or something that is a little bit more airborne, right? I think we had to see a switch off of the Farah when we went to Control Center. It was an unlucky break, I think, for Hypnos to run into that map as opposed to
the last time they went Dorado. They went Dorado and Eichenwald the last time in the series, so that was a group A decider, the winner match. Like
that's right. Yeah, Hypnos beat Vendetta in their opener and ended up going up against SSG. It's all coming back to me now.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, it's been a bit since it happened, but I know you. Yep, I know it's in that big old head of yours. Dorado did not work out for Hypnos last time, but. Maybe it's a map they feel comfortable on. Again,
I think if there's no chance, I think, of against a team like SSG is crafting a counter composition, right? Play to your strengths. I do think the Anna Winston setup is their best look. Sparker gets rotated in here, of course, as Dorado is the kind of map that's going to lend itself to a hit scan presence. Some teams have gone as far as to bring Widow here, but the Ashe definitely seems to be more than serviceable in her own right. And also, the anti-dive backline of the Brig Ana is very, very good here, especially as a defender controlling the high ground. Sparker is going to have plenty of space one way or another. The question is, what can he do with it?
Well, that was something the Des talked about maybe a little bit earlier, where like SSG doesn't like want to play on Akiri. It's like pretty much more like like Lucio for Funny Astro and then the Brig. So this is actually a good map for on a Brig, right? So this definitely plays into a little bit of like what SSG would like to play as well.
Sparker might end up rolling out with the Widow at least to start with, but these are excuse me, these are the expected comps on Dorado, and a whole lot is going to hinge on this sort of rotation of SkyTour's cooldowns and defensive dive here. What we see and what really gets tested here is a Winston player's ability to know when when he's going to take a face full of damage or just how long he can stay dropped down, because that all feeds into his ultimate generation. And of course, once that primal comes online, it is pretty devastating. That's the game plan here for Hypnos. Keo as well is going to have to do his very best here to make it hard for Hardy to dive with any armor. If he can strip that armor straight off the Winston, It's going to make it much easier for someone like SXJ to bring him down. Off we go, Sparker. At least opens on the Widow here. Notices that that sort of close corner is uncontested. He's about to find some degree of adversary, as it'll be SXJ gives him a tickle.
I was lucky he didn't get pushed up higher. It would have been right in the line of sight of the Tracer. So they do have a good idea of where they're exactly playing from. As puts a shot there in MCD is to be extremely careful, right? Playing against this Widow is, oh, that's a sleep there on a Sky Tour. Gets a benefit of his own team's bio grenade, right? So a little bit of extra amp healing, but that could be dangerous.
MCD, I think he's in trouble. Fortunately, he had the bubble up before he slept, which is important. Sparker brought down those Sky Tour. He's able to get to him. 46% and counting on that ult charge with the bio might be a big problem for the Winston. Who can chase him up here, though? No one at this stage. Hardy did not choose to follow. And so again, he'll drop down.
This is a good start here for Hypnos, right? Hardy's going to go up, try and just pressure that Winston down there, working up on that high ground. As Psycho also trying to potentially maybe get on that high ground, right? Can use the blinks to kind of cross this gap, get up there with Hardy.
Okay, there's that nano already built by MCD. Most of that farmed off of Skytor. And he's going to return the favor. Getting involved there with SXJ, linking up on the dive. And Space Station still having to deal with this very oppressive high ground defense that Dorado's been known for.
Yeah, and this is the comp that we were mentioning. Like, this is what Hypnos wants to play, right? You're not gonna, Lijiang Tower, right? You can play the Reaper. You're not gonna play a Reaper here on Dorado. So, have to play a little bit more in the long-range hit scan, where the pulse bomb from SXJ doesn't really connect with anything here. Is Space Station not even really building up to any ults thus far. It's been a very slow process trying to get the card.
Hardy nano here. Oh, the Winston. Looking to dive on in. Skytor has Primal up, though. It's a great disruptive potential. Oh, there it is. Kyo's forced out of the corner. He does see Hardy coming with Nano. He's got no choice. And Skytor was so low. He opts to drop in the middle of the fight, take a bunch of damage. But MCD was out of line of sight. So he dies with 10 HP.
Yeah, there was no way you were going to end up using your Primal there if you're Skytor and Hypnos, right? I was hit with like a bio grenade, I believe, as well. So gonna have to try and get Sparker set up.
I didn't even see Kyo.
Filthy. That is, yeah, I mean, I barely saw him as well, but I mean, that is just a filthy play there from Sparker. I mean, that is the hit scan.
And that's just taking liberties now with this Hypnos team. Skytor with the Primal. Sparker's a few seconds away from another grapple, but ooh dear. They're just gonna bully this Winston. Skytor will barely be able to get away. He gets a nano after the fact here, able to build towards his next Primal. The bio means he has to pause for thought here for a moment. Spark was never going to get away in that situation. I like this from Hypnos. They keep the tempo up and will slow Space Station down.
That's a big dynamite. A big dynamite there from Kyo as well. It like connects all the players in Space Station. They have to back up a little bit, make sure they get healed up. Oh, but you can't do that.
There's no checkpoint yet, Matt.
Yeah,
they could have held.
Yeah. Well, right, you would have Skytor Live and the Bob. I mean, you're in a spot to potentially hold. This will be the Bob from Kyo.
Hardy mostly ignoring it as the bubble allowed him to keep pushing up for a time, and he slipped in and got SXJ. So Skytor is back, but Sparker is very safe here. It's too far for SXJ to cross to try and pressure this Widow out. So the bubble for a time, some protection, but it's a beautiful drop down for Sparker. The headshot on Kyo. SXJ still, I was going to say he's at large, but he's probably feeling very small right now. Another beautiful headshot for Spark, putting on a clinic for us, but it was still a lengthy push for Space Station, getting it done just in time.
Yeah, it's a pretty good defense there from Hypnos, and probably could have been even better, right? They had an opportunity potentially, you know, if you keep Skytor alive to, you know, maybe make that interesting, get a hold there, as you see Hardy trying to like body block a little bit there for Sparker as he sits up on the high ground. As now we'll get a Widow battle.
Kyo probably feels like they've got no choice. Spark's been dominating him. Obviously that range advantage for Widow goes a long way, and there's not enough pressure from Skytor or SXJ on this Widow. Not enough at the time anyway.
You can still burn some clock here though if you're Hypnos, right? You're gonna have Skytor here potentially using this Primal. Actually, they find the kill on the Sparker and they get the nano out, so they just back up. So nice play there from Hypnos.
Yeah, Skytor doesn't feed into the nano brick and the back line. That would have been too sort of sturdy to bring down there.
Well, also just doesn't stay too long, right? No reason to kind of stay there and use the Primal. He already got 1 kill, right, in the fight, with Kyo taking out the Sparker. So no reason to just kind of use the Primal to extend it with no real reason.
It's actually very beautiful. Able to find Landon there with the help of Skytor's dive. So again, that little 2-piece from Hypnos has been paying dividends for them. Sparky here, of course, very hard to play this position as Widow. Right? You're definitely disadvantaged, and it's hard for Hardy to really mess with the backline. Having the Primal up here is big, but MCD always in a pinch can nano Captain Prash, for example. Protect that backline.
Yeah, I mean, you don't exactly need the nano for the Winston, right? Because the Winston's got Primal, right? So you'd use it in a more defensive manner. Try and use the nano onto your own break, right? Keep the Brig alive with the rally. This is going to be the Primal here for both Winstons, putting down some damage.
Skytor's playing a lot of time here. A lot of time. 41 seconds left for Space Station here. Skytor, though, hasn't had a chance to get topped up, though. There's an opening here for Hardy to go in, and he's going for it. Nano gets given to Skytor, but he's already dropped down. MCD's in trouble, gets a bio on himself, but Skytor tries to go to work and eats yet another sleep. They'll wait this out, hit him with a bio, and then send in the bill. Again, Sparker missing that shot on MCD. Has struggled over the last couple of moments, but the rest of SFG are forging a path forward. But that bio from MCD, not only does it kill Landon, it affects Funny Astro. And Kyo's able to win that fight out against Psycho. This guy absolutely cracked on the Widow. The Winston might be an issue for them, but geez, not much else to work with for Space Station.
No, since Keo went over to the Widow, getting the better of that battle with Sparker, is they will stop Space Station from getting that second checkpoint. So fantastic stuff from Hypnos on defense. They very well could have held checkpoint A as well, the first checkpoint, but man, what a defense there from Hypnos. Really started to use those ults and cycle them quite well.
Space Station don't really have a ton of choice. I mean, they could have maybe switched at hit scan, but that would have disadvantaged them in range terms against Kyo, who'd obviously made that swap to Widow and started popping off. So it was just generally Hypnos playing to their strengths there, and that's what we mentioned at the start of this map. No need to reinvent the wheel here. Their Winston comp is very good. Skytor, really good understanding of the ins and outs. SXJ always there to pair with the dives. There's nothing we haven't seen before, I think, objectively, but Hypnos are very smooth and coordinated when it comes to that. Space Station uncharacteristically looked extremely pressured.
Yeah, so it's quite interesting to see them being pushed a little bit like this by Hypnos, right? In this type of situation where the defense from Hypnos on point A was really good, right? It took a while for Space Station to even get the cart under the bridge, right? It took a while for that to develop, so Space Station needs to really kind of clutch up here on defense. They need a fantastic point A hold, right? Like at least get it into OT, drain a lot of that clock for Hypnos going into that second stage.
And even then, it wouldn't feel like a sure thing. But again, obviously, Sparker knows he gets to relax a little bit on that second point of the map. He's much safer. Okay, Kyo comes from a bit of an odd angle there. I think one that Sparker wasn't even looking at. No one going to be exposed up on that platform right now. Skytor goes up there just to clear it. And of course, Psycho will be operating on these building tops, but has to respect Kyo.
Oh, he's going to go
yeah,
for
he's taking the big grapples.
Yeah, trying to make a play for the Tracer is like a rare one, right? You usually try and like, maybe scare the Tracer down, right? But I don't think Psycho's kind of expecting the head hunting coming from Kyo over the top of the buildings.
Sparker there misses that jump. Opts the drop down in the end. Funny Astro a little bit low, but Captain Prash is felled. And I think Skytor, yeah, gets left on the way there. I think there was a Bionade on Sparker, but he couldn't capitalize. Sparker has to think about 32 different things right now, trying to keep the position of Kyo in the back of his head. That's why he's playing from here. He knows the Widow is on that left side, so he's going to get dove on, but MCD is just not looking. They don't expect Sparker to push up.
Yeah, I mean, MCD is looking towards the high ground, trying to keep his Widow and Winston alive as Skytor kind of jumps on top of Kyo and Hadi goes in and just does not expect the wide peek there from Sparker around the corner.
Kyo goes for a look towards Landon, who was exposed. Couldn't connect the shot though, so this has been slow going for Hypnos, but it was the same for Space Station. Again, Skytor doesn't fully commit, just wants to move the card up now. And there it is, Kyo finally gets on the board. It's Landon as well. The Golden Goose of picks for the Widow. Sparker can't get out because, again, SXJ is on the scene as soon as Skytor turns up. That dive comp is playing out beautifully, and Skytor might even get away with this. Hardy, with no bubble, is naked to the Widow shots.
Yeah, and I mean, you lose the Ana, it's pretty difficult to keep everybody alive, right? It's like your largest source of just healing. You have to sleep in the bio, whether it be offensively or defensively. The bio, the sleep definitely awesome for the Winstons as they kind of come on in. So will be Space Station will get back in a touch here most likely as Hadi makes it around the corner.
Spark is waiting to match that infrasight. He eventually gets it. Hardy turns back into the fight here with his primal. Doesn't fancy just juggling a singular Ana. Knows he can be more useful elsewhere. Sparko, with an infrasight up, gets a lot done. And will be topped up nicely as Skytor tries to accost him. That will be that checkpoint just held onto by the defenders.
And this is pretty a difficult spot to like take back, right? I know, especially against the Widow team, as Spark with a really nice angle here, just trying to like put some damage down on some of the players coming out of the spawn. As you do have a nano end rally for both sides here, so this could be really the game, right? I know at least on this map, under a minute to go, double support ult for both sides.
One pick.
Gonna have to get immense value out of this.
One pick event at all. Well, Sparker didn't see Keo there. I think the foliage obscured him. Lucky to get out alive there, but this could be tough. Here's the primal from Skytor. Slept, woken up, brought very low, but it's created a lot of space now, which means Keo can set up in a position that Sparker does not know about. He checks it there with a grapple, but now he's used the grapple. Can't get away from the Winston who's coming on in. Skytor is healthy now. Gonna be hit, of course, with that nano. Hardy's trying to do the same thing, but Skytor gets landed and Hardy gets nothing. Hypnos are cruising.
Yeah, this should be that first checkpoint, and it is there for Hypnos, but Space Station, they draw it out long enough, right? I think to give themselves an opportunity here. It's Skytor and crew, I think they're going to push up, as you see where Skytor's position now, try and take control of some of this high ground, right? Deny that space for Space Station Gaming. You don't need the entire second checkpoint, right? So holding this high ground early could be crucial.
Keo has the angle. That's going to be translated, though, to Sparker. He does know. But he needs to wait before he tries to assume that high ground position. Very passive. Now that Hardy checks it, though, I think he probably can start to make his move. Up goes Skytor, but Hardy's already there. He'll be shoved back down to the low ground. The cart is approaching, and that's Keo. What an elimination. And look how far ahead he is on the infrasight. That could be a game changer.
Yeah, I mean, pops it right away, because look at where the cart is. You don't actually need that much more space to go. To secure the map here for Hypnos, this Skytor is also going to have a Primal Rage here, too.
Sparky here, pressured down by Skytor. Cannot operate in those sightlines as he would have liked to, but at least he's keeping his life for now. Skytor, though, not easily denied. Card 0.83 meters away from the point. There's got to be some proper stalling, but Sparker eventually goes down. Skytor opens so much space up for Keo, and he capitalizes. Prash gets the bash on Psycho. And that'll be Hypnos taking the map from SSG. Looking desperately for answers after a tough first map. They go to Dorado, where they look best, and they show us why it's a map pick they'd love to bust out.
Yeah, I mean, playing that dive, I thought Keo really started to come alive on the Widowmaker there. Some of the shots were just crazy, and even though SSG, they put together a pretty good point A defense, because Hypnos takes it and then goes and takes that high ground right away, makes it very difficult for SSG to do anything really on the defensive side of things. And that's that second, really not the second checkpoint, but that box of victory hit there for Hypnos with relative ease. They tied the series up.
Absolutely. Got to be feeling good about that one. In fact, in every element of their team play, they looked better. MCD had fantastic bio nades, was really on point there. Skytor looked excellent, especially tying up that backline for extensive periods of time and even getting out with picks on Landon, for example. And the widow play from Keo was great. Keo stuck to the Ash for a fair while and was getting punished a little bit by Sparker, but once he made that switch over, they looked very, very good there. This is a quality team. Hypnos are absolutely knocking on the top 4 of EMEA, and they're really putting it all out there for us right now. What a treat. But now we have a tied up series coming out of Dorado.
I mean, what, just 2 weeks ago, just about, they end up losing this map to SSG, and they turn around, obviously with some changes to the meta and whatnot, and they end up winning it, right? So you kind of see the development here of Hypnos in real time as He was hitting 6 shots. I mean, look at that one.
That doesn't make any sense.
It's like a mid-blink tracer. That is sick.
I didn't even know that tracer existed in between the two start and end points of her blink, but apparently she does. And this is great. I mean, you are going up against one of the titans of Overwatch, and a team that has had that moniker for years now. You are upstarts. You've come in through the open system, qualified through Face It, and now you're throwing down with the very best of them. Has to feel good, but obviously they want much more than one map. We are in the lower bracket here of our Stage 3 main event, which means that there are no second chances. This is it. It is win or go home. So far, Hypnos have done pretty well. If they can, again, keep finding maps that favor them here, they can at least squeeze a map 5 out.
Yeah, and pretty surprising. Now we'll talk about like what SSG's map pick is. You see the stats actually extremely close. I mean, look at that. Like, 1.0 KD. Everybody going even across the board here for both teams, and then the healing within 1K, and then damage 4. So a pretty even matchup here.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think that was evidenced in the gameplay itself. I think that in general, Hypnos had a better dive. I think, yeah, the Widow kills definitely are a huge part of this, right? To what degree can Psycho sneak up and sort of punish Keo? You can't sort of bank on that. You can't guarantee that a Widow can sort of, often as they are left as like a loose end and sacrificed, while the team is diving, especially if they look to take a more aggressive off angle. Keo looked fantastic. This team is absolutely cooking. And our next map is just around the corner. Could it be like a SSG picked Runasapi? So they'd actually picked this against VP, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and that's where VP looked pretty good, right? Obviously, completely different teams, completely different matchup. But yeah, I was gonna say like maybe it was Runasapi or New Junk City. I think that would have made sense. Interesting enough, like let's say you lose this if you're Hypnos, like you have like Ike involved in the map pool. Like there are some instances where you could play some of like that Widow style where Backbone will come in. I wonder if they play Reaper again.
Well, they played Reinhardt initially on this map, and also we saw Backbone play the Venture. Yeah. Backbone was getting a little caught out on some of these flank angles. Runasapi's a bit awkward in that sense that you obviously do have flank angles, but they're a little long. And obviously Venture, if not submerged or, if they're out in line of sight, can definitely be caught. So I would not say it was the greatest map. I think SSG got pushed to like 130 meters rather by a VP here. And then they really struggled to deal with the Ramatra of Rajaro. See if they come with the Ryan comp again, if they still want to, try and see if they can get away with this rushdown style against Hypnos, who, yeah, again, we have seen SkyTour play some more rush, I think, on that first map, but we know they'll have dive, and maybe that gets mirrored here too. Seems like both comps have been valid on this map.
Yeah, and I think for Space Station, right, you bring this Reaper back in that was so successful on Lijiang Tower. And I think Hypnos, like, look, if it does not work against this, like we saw work earlier, you're going to have to pivot. You're going to have to make some different types of changes, right? You cannot just kind of continue to just run into the Reaper, right? So see when this fight kicks off, know how SkyTour and Co are going to play against this a little bit differently, right? Or is it going to go in favor of Space Station? We're going to have to see them make some changes.
Off to the races we are. It will be that Reaper for Backbone that gave SkyTour no shortage of headaches on the first map. And again, he's back to business awfully quick. Dive out from SkyTour, realizing this is not where he wants to be. He kind of has to occupy this space via some mechanism. This means that the map gets harder for Keo, for example, as the Winston cannot linger and create that zone nearly as long.
No, and I mean, you see kind of the damage that the Reaper does to this Winston constantly. As like, I think it would be crazy if Hypnos just kind of continued to run it into it, but maybe they feel like they kind of have to. So Keo will play the Cassidy. So Cassidy's a bit better against Reaper, right? Than like playing the Ashe, right? Can kind of like mid-range, really make Reaper kind of sweat a bit, but it's not going to do anything to keep SkyTour alive, I'll tell you that.
30+ meters already conceded here. See, Keo has switched to the Cassidy now, is taking a bit of an off angle here. Not sure if Space Station haven't realized that quite yet. They have now, as Keo's taking some damage, but meanwhile, it's a Tracer duel. Psycho with a recall, beautifully done. SXJ, problem solved here for Space Station. Now just sitting up on that high ground. It's a little bit outside of where Cassidy shines. It's not his best range, but SkyTour is trying to contest here, so it's just awkward. just map geometry, I think, for Hypnos to make this Cassidy work.
Yeah, and I mean, you're going to end up building up towards these this nano rather quickly, right? Just because of the damage that Skytour's been taking, but you're going to give up this first checkpoint pretty much. For SSG is going to have Psycho working towards the high ground. I mean, the support's just, you know, easy pickings up here.
MCD misses that one. He's so low. And I guess there was no heal packs available for Captain Prash because Hardy coming after the fact. So good so far from Psycho. Winning Tracer duels and putting the fear of God in backlines all over the map. Funny Astro is able to survive there. That little damage buff for Lucio definitely helping him, sure. We're almost hitting 100 meters pushed.
And it's a slaughter here. I mean, you know, the space station going around this corner. I mean, you're going to have the Kitsune rush with the Reaper there towards the end. SXJ might not even live through this.
Cool, but it was so telegraphed because he'd run in a straight line for the last 2 seconds. So Psycho knew exactly where to be looking at the other end of the recall. Now can play from underneath that ledge, so out of Cassidy's line of sight entirely. So running from Captain Prash, he knows that the pressure's starting to mount. Space Station are so chilling. They've not had to use any of these ultimates. Kio's looking for one now. Okay, no good. It's going to be a dead blossom from the Reaper guy, bro. He eats them dead eyes for breakfast. Okay, now we're over 105 meters and counting here. Hypnos are getting absolutely washed aside.
They still have Rush.
They do. They still have Rush.
They still have Rush here coming down the main street at the end of the map as this is an absolute drubbing here that Space Station's putting on Hypnos. Is
Hardy's just flattened Keo.
Yeah, this is
boxed his ears.
It's going to be a map completion.
Yeah, I think we're eyeing it up pretty quickly here. And in 3.5 minutes, which would be almost record time, I'd say. It's been quick either way. Hardy a little low, unbothered though right now. He's landed with a Kitsune rush, making my way downtown, walking really fast. And taking some names. It's going to be Keo falling, trying to switch to the Widow out of spawn, trying to make the play, but it is not to be. And my goodness.
Whoa.
What the hell did I just watch?
That was... I hope you didn't sit down.
I basically did some squats with how quickly I had to stand up.
Yeah, that is just... I mean, uncompetitive isn't even the word. I mean, just kind of like a blowout there on Runasapi that Hypnos was never close. And it's like the same way they end up losing map number 1, right? They play the dive and the Reaper, you know, Backbone just kind of murders everybody. This time they do the same exact thing. They just kind of like run right into it. And SSG does not let them off the hook once.
Get a map pick they're looking for. They have the Reaper in this kind. I mean, you'd never play that on Dorado, right? You'd never play the Reaper style. It doesn't make any sense. But here at the map, it's less... There's less of that verticality, and you are really forced to fight up front if you're a Winston player here.
Hypnos has a map pick, right? So, okay, like you may have won the Dorado and then been like, you know, chalk it up, who cares, right? You know, we're probably not going to win Runasapi. Let's just get over to Hybrid straight away, whatever we want to pick.
Right to work with. All right, let's hear from the desk here. That was a quick one. I think that was about 4 minutes for a push map, gang. Lightning fast.
Yeah, you blink and you miss it. I nearly didn't make it to the desk in time. Like, that's what happened. Yeah, and that means that we're now on match point for SSG. We did expect them to obviously be dominant in this. This is a rematch. 3-0 was the score, in fact, the last time they faced off in the winners match of Group A during the group stage. What have we learned since? How do you think they compare and stack up right now?
I mean, I think Hypnos have shown real strength on the mirror, where conversely, I'd say SSG don't look so strong. I mean, Keo did have a huge map on Dorado on the Widow, and I think that's always an X factor. No matter how good your team is, the Widows are kind of playing their own game on Dorado. But I do think SSG have found a great way with that Reaper Lucio variant of the Winston comp to make their style, their fast tempo Lucio style, look really good. I think the Reaper is off meta choice, but actually for me, looks really good in that matchup, right? With the Lucio and the Curie to enable the Reaper. Yes, Brig can be a pretty strong backliner, but when a Reaper's, you know, running you down with a Lucio speed and a Kitsune rush, you can just crack that shield open and, you know, Brig is just left exposed, and that's what we saw here. I'm curious if a map pick here, maybe a hybrid, can come out and bring us back to
my God.
Winston style. But yeah, I mean, like, what do you do about this, right? Wait, Keo's having a huge game.
Both Widows have some insane shots, like going just back to back. Sparker had a couple of moments that just like blew my mind.
How much good Widow play have we already been treated to in
Yeah, we have. And like good doses.
Yeah,
it's not like perma Widow. We got some good doses of Widow. But yeah, I mean, the pace here on Runasapi was just out of control from SSG. So maybe, you know, it's going to be tough for Hypnos if they can't manage this kind of tempo coming their way.
I do want to talk about that Reaper a little bit more. Do you think that's generally something they can and should be relying on more moving forward? Do you think that's kind of what was missing?
I mean, I think Mitch made a great point. Like, you know, if you're going to bring it out on a Dorado, you're going to be looking at a very different game, right? Where it's so hard to connect to the back line. But on a relatively flatter map with, you know, less vertical mobility, you're not necessarily relying on, let's say, your teleport to get up to high ground. I think you do have a much better chance to make the Reaper work and make it look good. We've seen even Toronto bringing out the Reaper with a Zarya style. I mean, we got to remember, it was like, I think it was 2 patches ago, Reaper got a buff to have a little bit less spread on the shotgun. And that's actually a big deal in competitive play where it is all about that effective range. Just a little bit more effective range on the character can make it from a sort of a meme pick into something that, honestly, a lot of teams have found little spots to bring out the Reaper.
And
it's more than a niche.
And specifically on Runasapi as well, they played a Backbone on Reaper before in the Faceit League. So that is something they looked at Runasapi as a map and they say Backbone playing Reaper here. We feel like we're pretty comfortable with that.
Yeah, speaking of comfortability, Hypnos is taking this to Eichenwalde. SSG is not going to be upset about this one.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's not Paraiso, but we'll see if they can make it work here.
We'll see indeed. This is an elimination match. Will Hypnos go out 3-1, or can they bring it back and perhaps start their comeback? Let's find out. Mitch, Matt, take it away.
Eichenwalde, the Hail Mary throw here for Hypnos, as we've headed over to our hybrid map. That would obviously leave, of course, Flashpoint for our map 5 if we get there. And that is a big thing. The if is doing Olympia level lifting there, folks. As Space Station made the Reaper comp work pretty bloody well on Runasapi and might still opt to go for it here. Really changes the way that SkyTour has to play. Means that he really can't linger nearly as long. It means he can't give nearly as much space to someone like Kyo. So perhaps SXJ here predicting a more ground-borne setup for Space Station, opting for the Echo.
Yeah, and interesting that when this series happened the last time, they picked Dorado and Eichenwalde as well. They go back to the same maps and they end up losing. Dorado, they lost 2-1 to SSG the last time. They kind of win that one. It was 2-1 pretty much this time. Eichenwalde, they gave up a full map completion to SSG. So let's see if their defense here is picked up a little bit.
All right, quick TP across here for Backbone, so he's already in a flanking position. SkyTour's been drawn out of formation. Lena, though, looks like he used a straggler as they tried to cross, got picked off by Kyo. So now Space Station are a little bit of an awkward spot. Lena can swift step to them, but will have to move towards the point before he's in range.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to have to get a little bit closer to be able to do that. So,
and look who's waiting for him.
In a really odd spot here.
Okay.
Yeah, looks like they kind of work back towards the choke. Kyo in a tough spot. Yeah, just gets
Landon just headshot him. You can only see like a couple pixels on his head. He headshot him straight away, and then the rest of Space Station rotated him to scoop up the Kiriko. This is chalked.
Yeah, Hypnos, I know they get an early pick off on Landon, and then it seems like they almost forget that he's coming off the spawn there as Nokia just takes a shot in the back. And then the dive is right there. I mean, Psycho's right in position to be able to take out that Ash. So early pick of the point there for SSG. So now moved here to the second phase of the map. A little bit of a high ground here that you're giving up for Space Station Gaming, as Hypnos, maybe they can make something out of it.
All right, Kyo obviously theoretically a pretty advantaged spot to be, especially once that bubble goes away, but good pressure from that low ground. Just landed again, just keeping him in check with his kunai. Pretty important to allow Space Station to start to get across towards the castle. That's, of course, where the Reaper's going to be at his best. And SkyTour, you see, he's in and out very, very quickly on so many of these engagements. Chasing the Winston, as always. Now SkyTour might not have anywhere to go. He's so low, still able to jump back out into the castle, and SXJ mostly being ignored.
Yes, I mean, yeah, you just, I mean, if the Echo's not really kind of making you worry, I mean, just leave up there on the high ground. As that's the Kitsune rush here from Space Station. They drop it up on the high ground. Everybody's stuck here for Hypnos.
Connection there. Hypnos able to shrug that off, but not the follow-up. SkyTour was able to find Funny Astro at the very least of that primal, and Hardy is testing his limits. Apparently the Sky is the limit for the Winston. SkyTour healthy enough, but running out of teammates pretty rapidly, and Captain Prash got bowled over by this Death Blossom. A little awkward for Space Station still. There's really only Backbone here for the time being after Hardy dropped.
Psycho's here as well, so you're gonna get some type of payload progress, but I don't think you can like stay and fight this for long, right? Is Backbone quite low. Oh, does a nice job actually kind of like predicting that Sticky's gonna come in and dodge.
And a good Suzu as well that came in from Landon. I think that did a bit of work towards keeping the Reaper standing. Big Sticky connection here. Yeah, he was hoping to force an early Wraith walk. He gets it now at least. And now Hardy's worried a little bit about the Winston diving in against this Reaper. But eventually, Backbone's able to knock that duplicate out. SXJ forced to take to the skies again. Sees Funny Astro as a tasty morsel here, but not always easy to catch the Lucio. Gets him with the edge of that focusing beam.
Yes, yeah, 2 more kills though go in favor of Space Station Gaming, right? So even though the Echo is starting to make a little bit of a difference, right? Not resulting in fight wins. Too many players here for SSG, just able to linger around for a while. Kitsune Rush dropped, Landon falls right away, but the Reaper is going to be so strong in this. I don't know how you go out there and challenge it.
That is so nuts, especially with Sky Tower already down. I mean, if not beforehand, he probably would have died to the Reaper inside that rush.
It's not great for MCD here.
MCD. What is the play? Landon puts him out of his misery.
A right hook to the face.
Right. Hypnos at least have the nano to work off of here.
Look at this. We're going to get a Reaper mirror here.
Oh, unreal respect, SSJ. I guess he feels like, again, the ceiling's a bit low for the Echo here.
No, I like the Reaper mirror though. Like if they're gonna put so much pressure on the Sky Tour, put that pressure back on the Hottie.
I mean, the Space Station comp is literally like the 2022 like finals comp. This is what we saw constantly.
Just get a Moira.
Yeah, I guess Moira was in there before Kiriko's time, but still virtually the same. It's pretty good. Very, very hard to play in it as Winston, but so many heroes that benefit so much from Kitsune Rush. But no, I think Kiriko was out then. I'm sure that's what they were doing. Moira, Kiriko, maybe. I forget. Doesn't matter. I try to wipe from my memory, honestly.
Yeah, the Space Station, though, even with the Reaper on the other side, just running it down. Is Sky Tour going to go over to the Malga here just to try and get a touch, but it just feels like it's delaying the inevitable as Backbone with a Death Blossom in the spawn connects with 3 minutes on the clock there for SSG.
Busting it down, baby.
Just no slowing down there.
Again, when you got that Death Blossom set up on the cart, you can sail on in and pop that as soon as the defenders try and contest. It was essentially a foregone conclusion there.
Their time bank is almost as long as the entire Runasapi.
That is true. Yeah, not many 3.5, 4 minute maps we see here in Overwatch. I mean, mercifully, Hypnos going on the defense first means that Space Station can't run through them nearly as quickly. Some moments there for Hypnos, but in general, they struggle with the Reaper, I think, straight off the bat, even with the challenges that the verticality of the second phase of Action Water presents. We saw Backbone able to deal with it anyway, because Sky Tour has to drop down. He has to contest the card. He has to fight the Reaper. And we all know how that goes. It's been going the same way for the entire map.
I mean, it's gone the same way the whole series when you're trying to play it. I mean, this would be, I mean, the D.Va, like, if you were going to bring the D.Va out, like, you probably should have tried it, like, last round, like, you know, when things were not going great, where I think the D.Va, we talked about this on Lijiang Tower, right? The D.Va would be a little bit better against the Reaper, right? At least being able to use the defense matrix, get, like, you know, other players in the Reaper's face, right? Force some of those cooldowns out.
Hypnos here, maybe looking at a Cassidy Reaper look. Okay, that's the plan with the D.Va, no less. So again, obviously, Cassidy really effective against Reaper in a lot of those mid-range engagements. Having one as well, the mirrored, to take Hardy down. They brought the D.Va in to mitigate some of that damage in general with the defense matrix. See how this plays out.
I mean, can definitely make it a little bit harder. Yeah, I mean, it's a good swap here from Hypnos. I'm surprised we didn't see this earlier, you know, in the series.
Cassidy is really diveable, but still able to handle Reaper pretty well at those ranges. SXJ, though, Auckland now has to move out of that room. He just does. I guess he just runs Funny Astro down, so no dramas there. Psycho here, just lingering. It's really just him. He'd hoped to contain Hypnos inside the computer shop. Looks like he's done so long enough for Hardy to return. There's at least 4 players here for Space Station ready to roll.
Everybody's going to return for Hypnos, though, right? You're going to get everybody back in the fight. I think the issue is you may just not have, I know, the HP pool between Sky Tour and SXJ to fight this. Yeah, you end up losing your Reaper. I think now you decide to back up, right?
Yeah, it's ugly. Ugly for Hypnos. They looked like they were in a pretty decent spot. I think they were like 3v1 against the Tracer. Still didn't feel like they could contest, and then they get absolutely hammered in this engagement, losing SXJ early. Tough to bounce back from.
Yeah, it's now Space Station, right? You end up building up towards some of these ultimates in that fight, and you don't even give up a tick on the point for Hypnos, right? Hypnos does a better job, I would say, kind of dealing with this comp. You know, playing this kind of a variation with like a Diva and Reaper in the mix. But still, and not good enough to even get a tick on the checkpoint. So here we go, back into the computer shop.
SXJ, a little bit disoriented, I think, by the boop up there. Consider Rush now going to be in play for both sides. Sound barrier for Captain Prash. Funny, Astro doesn't quite hit the timing on Backbone, but Kyo falls down anyway. And Psycho is able to drag SXJ down from an off angle. Space Station are back in control again, and now the stagger once more will be carried out.
And I would say that the benefits of like the Winston, right, is that I think the Primal is just so much more useful than obviously self-destruct, right? You know, self-destruct obviously good at getting the mech back, you know, in a pinch if needed, but isn't going to be as impactful. That's a long-range Lucio shot, a funny Astro. Just like another damage dealer out there as we are going into the spawn of Hypnos. And they have to use the self-destruct in the spawn too. That is.
I mean, yeah, I guess it's either that or switch off Diva and back to her and lose your ultimate anyway. So
I like
it's all
this.
the same.
Hide in the bush.
Hide in bush. Guide for winners. 1 minute and 5 seconds left on the clock here for those keeping track at home. If you were just enjoying this carnage. Backbone's felled here now. Can Space Station fold away from this? They can.
I don't think Backbone had any intention to live there. I mean, that is not a position you intend to make it out of, where he is currently
Hardy's
fighting.
Primal's going to buy the time here. He thinks twice about going after SXJ, and instead, a D-Mech on SkyTour is in order, and because he had to use the self-destruct in Spawn to get his mech back,
he's got no self-destruct.
Yep, he can't renew it, and Backbone is, well, he's back. He has returned to the fray, and he is making up for lost time.
Yeah, now you got a Death Blossom Kitsune Rush combination here potentially for Space Station. Is Backbone continuing to be sneaky here. Gonna look for some type of flank. So we have the Echo now.
Anything to answer this Reaper. They haven't been able to match it as well as they would have liked. Okay, Kitsune Rush for both sides. And Captain Prax is the first to fall here. This is basically over, folks. We're very, very hard for Hypnos to get a touch here with the Death Blossom of SXJ, valiantly attempting to keep them in the game. But Backbone's got one of his own. MCD was able to get away, but only just. And now to Sound Barrier. Space Station are committing here with Psycho and Funny Astro. Yeah, winnable, question mark, indeed. There's a pulse bomb up here for Psycho, just needs to navigate the defense matrix to a degree, buy a little bit of time. Now, in a 2v4, it's a little risky. Hey, stay out of my house. Now, and guess what? They're back. Hardy returns. SXJ picked off just as SkyTour jumped up to the high ground to try and fight. Now the numbers definitely not favouring Hypnos. Kyo very low. Self-destruct has to be used for SkyTour, but he will be able to get back into his mech. There's just a small issue of touching the point, though. A very minor thing. And again, we've discussed how, you know, many experts have sort of... It's been inconclusive whether the objective matters. But, you know, when it's about staying in the series, I think maybe a touch would have been good there.
Yeah, it looked like maybe a player or two got like knocked off the point, weren't able to get a touch. Where SSG, I mean, they closed it out with two dominant back-to-back maps, right? The Runasapi and then this. I mean, they looked very strong, in those two maps throughout the series. I thought Hypnos put up a decent fight, right? They take a map. I think in the dive they looked pretty good, and just there was really no answers or no other comp they could really go to that could make any type of impact.
By the Cassidy didn't quite work out. Echo also similar results. Let's head over the desk and break this one down. There was a glimmer of hope for Hypnos, but eventually we all woke up.
And then there wasn't.
A smidget. Just a little something, a little something. I mean, Hypnos have a lot to be proud of. They had a phenomenal group stage. It was great to see them in action. I think that team as a whole and the players individually, they came a long way and definitely put themselves on the radar. But SSG, they wanted to make a statement here, and they had to make a statement. Obviously, they could not get eliminated against Hypnos. That would have been an Omega upset, in fact. So, yeah, they came here to play. They were angry, and they showed why. Again, the dive looks very confident against teams of this caliber. That's the problem. But
which variant to dive, right? Because I think the Ana Brig doesn't look good for Space Station. They lost Dorado, and frankly, I don't think Dorado was super close. Like, Hypnos won Dorado very convincingly. When SSG brings out the Lucio, the Curie, maybe the Reaper is their way to make that backline look good, and I'm interested to see how that could match up against some stronger teams. Of course, once we see Hypnos mirroring the Lucio Curie, they just haven't looked good on that style. For Hypnos, it really is the Ana Brig or nothing. But for Space Station, I think they're going to be kind of upset that this Ana Brig is just not connecting for them. Maybe, though, historically, they've always found a way to bring it back to their flow of the game, their style with the Lucio. And if the Reaper is that for them, then this could have been a key innovation they've seen in the series.
Yeah, looked great against Hypnos, but the adaptation wasn't
caveat.
quite there from Hypnos. So could it work against the likes of Twisted Minds or Virtus Pro? That's where I'm dubious. But it worked out here.
Did indeed. Lots of phenomenal performances across the board, of course, for SSG, as they make it look easy. Psycho earning themselves the player of the match with another great performance, of course.
Yeah, been a bit of a carry for this team. I mean, especially stage 2, when they beat out ENCE in that grand finals, I think that Psycho really made a big name for himself. And for this team, been so consistent on this Tracer, of course, but also I think in this meta as well, on a couple of points, you could bring out the Echo, for example, or if you're facing a team that's playing something like a Pharah. I think Psycho's flexibility in that regard has been really useful for this team. So a big playmaker for this team, but really sets the pace for the rest of the team, I feel like.
Indeed. Looking at that series, though, and how it ended, while there was a glimmer of hope for Hypnos, Eichenwalde, is that just a Hail Mary in the end? Is that just like, well, we have something planned on Eichenwalde, so let's roll with it? Do you feel like a Paraíso would have perhaps played more into their cards?
Yeah, based on what I've seen from them as a team, I would think Paraíso is a map that's just much more Ana Brig centric. I mean, they played Super Shy on Eichenwalde, and it was really close, competitive. So I think that's maybe a bit of a mistake for Hypnos. But maybe they're wanting to get into that next level, up their flexibility. In the end, you can't just be one-tricking on a break. There's going to be maps where the Lucio Carry need to come out, and maybe you need to build yourself up, even potentially against a squad as good as Space Station. Clearly, I mean, from hindsight, we can say it's a mistake, but who knows? Maybe the scrim results are just so good for them. It's undeniable that they have to pick Ice.